My name is Tom McKenzie, and I reckon this here letter might be the last thing I ever write. The cancer's been eating at me for nigh on 6 months now, and Doc Henderson says I got maybe a week left. 2, if I'm lucky. Ain't no point in sugarcoating it. Time dying, and I'm dying alone. Sitting here in my cabin on the edge of nowhere, Montana, with nothing but the wind howling through the pines, and my old dog Blue sleeping by the fire. I figured it was time to set the record straight about my life. Not that there's anybody left to read it, mind you. My Sarah passed on 8 years ago, took the consumption, and left me with nothing but memories in this empty house that echoes with her laughter. We never had children. Sarah and me tried for years, but the good Lord had other plans. Maybe it was for the best, seeing as how I'm fixing to meet my maker without leaving anybody behind to grieve over much. Blue here's about the only living thing that'll miss me, and he's getting on in years himself. Probably won't be long before he follows me to whatever comes next. I've been a cowboy all my life. Worked ranches from here to Texas, seen more sunrises and sunsets than most men see in 3 lifetimes. Started when I was just 14, after my PA died in a mining accident and my ma couldn't afford to keep me. Learned to rope and ride from old-timers who knew the land when it was still wild, when Indians still roamed free, and buffalo covered the plains like a brown carpet stretching to the horizon. Those were different times. Harder times in some ways, but simpler too. A man's word meant something, and you could trust your neighbor to help when trouble came calling. Nowadays, seems like everybody's in such a hurry to get somewhere else that they forget to appreciate where they are. I met Sarah when I was 26 working a spread outside Billings. She was the school teacher in town, prettiest thing I ever laid eyes on, with hair like spun gold and eyes blue as a Montana sky. Took me 3 months to work up the courage to ask her to the church social, and another 6 months before I could stammer out a proposal. Miracle of miracles, she said yes. We had 34 good years together, Sarah and me. Built this cabin with our own hands, raised cattle and horses, weathered droughts and blizzards and everything else this hard country could throw at us. She could cook better than any restaurant chef, sing like an angel, and shoot a rifle better than most men. When the consumption took her, it felt like the sun went out of the sky. These past 8 years have been the longest of my life. I kept the ranch going for a while, but my heart wasn't in it anymore. Sold off the cattle, kept just a few horses for company. Spent most of my time reading the books Sarah loved, tending her garden, and talking to her gravestone like she was still here to listen. The cancer started as a pain in my gut that wouldn't go away. Doc Henderson ran his tests and gave me the news with that look doctors get when they're about to tell you something you don't want to hear. 6 months, maybe a year if I was lucky. No point in treatments at my age, he said. Better to make peace with it and enjoy what time I had left. So here I sit, writing what I reckon will be my last letter, though I ain't sure who I'm writing it to. Maybe to Sarah, wherever she is. Maybe to the wind and the mountains that have been my companions all these years, maybe just to set things down on paper so there's some record that Tom McKenzie lived and loved and tried to do right by the world. I've made my peace with dying. Truth is, I'm tired of waking up alone, tired of cooking for one, tired of the silence that fills this house like a living thing. Sarah's been waiting for me for 8 years, and I'm ready to see her again, ready to hear her laugh, to hold her hand, to tell her all the things I should have said more often when she was here. The pain's getting worse now. Comes in waves that take my breath away and leave me doubled over like a green colt that's been gut shot. Doc gave me some pills, but they don't help much, and they make my head fuzzy. I'd rather face this thing clear-eyed and sober, the way I faced everything else in my life. I've been thinking a lot about regrets lately, about things I wish I'd done different, wish I'd told Sarah I loved her more often, wish we'd traveled more, seen more of the world beyond these mountains, wish I'd been kinder to the young cowboys who worked for me over the years, more patient with their mistakes and eager enthusiasm, but mostly, I wish I'd done more good in this world. Oh, I never hurt anybody on purpose, never stole or cheated or broke my word, but I wonder sometimes if just being decent is enough. Wonder if I should have done more to help folks, to make the world a little better place for my having been in it. There was this one time, must have been 15 years ago, when a family came through in a broken down wagon, heading west with nothing but hope and determination. The man was sick, the woman was heavy with child, and they had 2 little ones that looked like they hadn't had a proper meal in weeks. I gave them food and shelter for 3 days, helped fix their wagon, and sent them on their way with supplies. Never saw them again, never knew if they made it to wherever they were going. But I think about them sometimes. Wonder if those children grew up strong and healthy, if that baby was born safe. Wonder if maybe that small kindness made a difference in their lives. That's the kind of thing I wish I'd done more of. Not grand gestures or heroic deeds, just simple human kindness when it was needed. Maybe if I'd done more of that, I wouldn't feel so much like I was leaving this world without having made much of a mark on it. The wind's picking up outside, and I can hear the first drops of rain starting to hit the roof. Storm's coming in, looks like it might be a big one. Blue's getting restless, pacing by the door like he does when the weather's about to turn nasty. Smart dog always knows what's coming before it gets here. I've got enough wood for the fire, enough food for a few more days, though I doubt I'll need it that long. The pain's getting stronger, and I can feel something changing inside me, like a clock winding down. Won't be long now, I reckon. Strange thing is, I ain't scared. Thought I would be, but mostly I just feel tired and ready. Ready to see Sarah again, ready to rest, ready to lay down this burden I've been carrying since she died. Maybe that's what peace feels like, not the absence of pain, but the acceptance of it. I keep thinking about what Doc Henderson said about making peace with dying, and I realize I've been trying to do that for 8 years now. Ever since Sarah passed, I've been half dead anyway, just going through the motions of living without really being alive. Maybe this cancer is just finishing what started the day I lost her. The rain's coming harder now, drumming on the roof like fingers tapping out a rhythm. Blue's settled down by the fire again, but he keeps looking at me with those wise old eyes, like he knows something's different. Animals always know, don't they? They can sense things we can't. Feel the changes coming. Before we do, I remember when Sarah was dying, how Blue wouldn't leave her side for the last 3 days. Just lay there next to her bed, watching and waiting, like he was standing guard. When she finally passed, he howled once a long, mournful sound that seemed to come from somewhere deep in his soul, and then he was quiet. Been quiet ever since. Like he used up all his voice saying goodbye to her. Maybe that's what I'm doing now. Using up my voice to say goodbye to this life, to these mountains, to the memories that have sustained me all these years. Writing it all down so there's something left behind. Some record of the love Sarah and I shared, the life we built together in this wild, beautiful place. The fire's burning low, and I should probably add another log, but the effort seems to much right now. The pain's got its claws in me good, and every movement sends lightning bolts through my guts. Maybe I'll just sit here a while longer, watching the flames dance and listening to the rain. I can almost see Sarah in the firelight, the way she used to look when she was reading by the hearth. Her hair catching the glow, and her face peaceful and content. She always said this cabin was her idea of heaven, just the two of us. The mountains, and all the time in the world to love each other. Won't be long now, darling, I whispered to the empty room. Won't be long before I'm home. The storm's really howling now, wind rattling the windows and rain coming down in sheets. Blue's gotten up again, pacing and whining like something's got him spooked. Probably just the weather, but he's acting stranger than usual. Looking toward the door like he's expecting somebody. I'm about to tell him to settle down when I hear a sound that doesn't belong to the storm. A knocking, soft but insistent, barely audible over the wind and rain. Blue starts barking, not his usual warning bark, but something different, almost excited. Can't be anybody out there, not in this weather, not this far from town. Must be a branch hitting the door, or maybe the wind playing tricks, but Blue's at the door now, tail wagging, and that knocking comes again, definitely human, definitely real. I struggle to my feet, pain shooting through me like fire, and make my way to the door. My hands shaking as I reach for the latch, and I can't tell if it's from the pain or from something else. Some strange feeling that everything's about to change. Who's there? I call out, but my voice is weak, barely carrying over the storm. The answer comes back, so soft I almost miss it. A voice like a lost bird crying in the wind. Please, ... please save me. I stand there for a moment, hand frozen on the door latch, wondering if the pain medication has finally addled my brain. Can't be anybody out there in this storm, especially not way out here where the nearest neighbor's 20 miles away. But Blue's practically dancing at the door now, whining and scratching at the wood like he's desperate to get out. The knocking comes again, weaker this time, and that voice, Lord help me, it's a child's voice, thin and frightened and barely audible over the howling wind. ... double quotes please. ... I'm so cold. ... My hands shake as I work the latch, pain shooting through my gut with every movement. But I get the door open and nearly stumble backward at what I see. Standing on my porch, soaked to the bone and shivering like a leaf in a hurricane, is a little girl who can't be more than 8 or 9 years old. She's wearing a thin cotton dress that's plastered to her small frame. No coat, no shoes, and her dark hair is hanging in wet strings around a face that's pale as moonlight. But it's her eyes that stop me, cold, big and dark, and filled with a terror that no child should ever have to carry. Sweet Jesus. I breathe, and without thinking, I reach out and pull her inside, slamming the door against the storm. Child, what in the Sam Hill are you doing out there? Where did you come from? She stands there dripping on my floor, arms wrapped around herself, teeth chattering so hard I can hear them clicking. Blue circles around her, tail wagging, making little whimpering sounds like he's trying to comfort her. I ran, she whispers, her voice so small I have to lean down to hear her. They were ... they were going to ... I had to run. The pain in my gut flares up something fierce, but I push it down. This child needs help, and whatever's wrong with me can wait. I grab the quilt from my chair and wrap it around her, then guide her to the fire. Sit here by the warmth, I tell her, settling her in my chair. Let me get you something dry to wear, and some hot food. You're safe now, child. Whatever you're running from, it can't get you here. She looks up at me with those haunted eyes, and I see something in them that makes my heart clench, gratitude mixed with disbelief. Like she can't quite believe that someone might actually help her without wanting something in return. I rummage through Sarah's old trunk and find one of her nightgowns, the smallest one I can locate. It'll be too big for the girl, but it's clean and dry. I set it on the bed and turn my back while she changes, listening to her quiet movements and the way her breath still comes in little gasps. "What's your name, child?" I ask, keeping my voice gentle as I put some beans and cornbread on, too warm. "Emma," she whispers. "Emma Rose, that's a pretty name. I'm Tom McKenzie, and this here's Blue." The old dog has positioned himself right next to her chair, like he's appointed himself her guardian. "How long have you been out in that storm?" I don't know. Since dark, maybe. I got lost in the woods, and then I saw your light." Since dark, that means she's been wandering in this weather for hours. A little slip of a girl with no coat or shoes, running from something that scared her enough to brave a Montana storm. The thought makes my blood boil, even as another wave of pain doubles me over. "Easy there, mister," Emma says, and I'm surprised to hear concern in her voice. "You don't look so good." I straighten up as best I can, forcing a smile. "Just a little stomach trouble, nothing to worry about. Here, eat this." I hand her a bowl of warm beans and a piece of cornbread, and watch as she falls on it like she hasn't eaten in days. While she eats, I study her more carefully. She's thin, too thin, and I can see bruises on her arms that make my hands clench into fists. Her feet are cut and bleeding from running barefoot through the woods, and there's a haunted quality to the way she keeps glancing at the door, like she's expecting something terrible to come bursting through. "Emma," I say carefully, "who are you running from? Where's your family?" Her spoon stops halfway to her mouth, and for a moment I think she's going to bolt like a spooked deer. Then her shoulders slump, and she sets the bowl down with hands that are still shaking. "My uncle," she whispers. "Uncle Jeremiah. He said I was old enough now. Said it was time I learned to be a woman." Her voice breaks on the last word, and I feel something cold and terrible settle in my chest. "Where are your parents, child? Dead?" "Mama died when I was 5, and Papa got killed in a mine accident last year. Uncle Jeremiah was the only family left, so the county sent me to live with him." She wipes her nose with the back of her hand. "He was nice at first, but then he started looking at me different, saying things. Tonight he two. She doesn't finish, but she doesn't need to. I've seen enough of the world to know what kind of monster would prey on a defenseless child. And the rage that fills me is so strong it almost drowns out the pain in my gut. He can't hurt you here," I tell her, and I mean every word. "I won't let him." She looks up at me with those big dark eyes, and I see a flicker of hope there, fragile as a candle flame in the wind. "You promise?" I promised. The storm's still, raging outside, rain lashing the windows and wind howling through the trees like all the demons of hell are loose. But inside, by the fire, with Blue standing guard and this brave little girl finally starting to warm up, it feels like we're in our own small world, safe from whatever darkness is out there. "Tell me about yourself, Emma," I say, settling into the chair across from her. "What do you like to do? What makes you happy?" For the first time since she stumbled through my door, I see something besides fear in her expression. "I like to read," she says shyly, "and I can cook pretty good. Mama taught me before she died, and I love horses. I used to help Papa with the horses before. Well, I've got plenty of books here, and I could use some help with cooking. And I've got 3 horses in the barn that would love some attention." I lean forward, ignoring the pain that shoots through me. "Emma, I want you to listen to me carefully. You don't have to go back to your uncle, ever. There are good people in this world, people who will help you, and I'm going to make sure you find them. But where will I go? I don't have anybody else. We'll figure that out. There's a family in town, the Andersons, who have been wanting to adopt a child for years. Good people, kind people. And if that doesn't work out, well," I pause, an idea forming in my mind that's so crazy it just might work. "Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it." She nods, and for the first time since she arrived, she actually smiles. It transforms her whole face, makes her look like the child she should be instead of the frightened little ghost who knocked on my door. "Mr. McKenzie," she says softly, "why are you helping me? You don't even know me." It's a fair question, and one I'm not sure I can answer properly. How do I explain to a 9-year-old girl that I've been waiting to die for 8 years? That I'd given up on everything until she knocked on my door? How do I tell her that maybe, just maybe, the good Lord sent her here for a reason? "Sometimes," I say finally, "people come into our lives when we need them most. Maybe you needed someone to help you tonight, and maybe I needed someone to help. Maybe that's just how the world works sometimes." She considers this with the seriousness that only children can bring. 2 big questions. "Do you think Mama sent me here?" She used to say that angels watch over us, even when we can't see them. The words hit me like a punch to the chest, and for a moment I can't breathe. Sarah used to say the same thing, used to tell me that the people we love never really leave us, that they find ways to help us when we need it most. I think," I say, my voice rough with emotion, that your mama loves you very much, and she wants you to be safe and happy, and maybe she guided you here because she knew I'd take care of you." Emma nods solemnly, then yawns so wide I can see. Her tonsils, the warmth and food and safety are finally catching up with her, and she's starting to look like what she is, a tired little girl who's been through more than any child should have to endure. "Why don't you get some sleep?" I suggest. "You can take my bed, and I'll keep watch by the fire." "I don't want to take your bed," she protests, but her eyes are already drooping. Nonsense. A gentleman always gives a lady the bed. I help her up and guide her to the bedroom, tucking her in like Sarah used to tuck in the neighbor children when they'd visit. "Blue will stay right here with you, won't you, boy?" The old dog immediately jumps up on the bed and settles down next to Emma, who wraps her arms around him like he's a furry guardian angel. Within minutes, she's fast asleep, her breathing deep, and even for the first time since she arrived, I stand there watching her sleep. This brave little girl who ran through a storm to escape a monster, and I feel something I haven't felt in 8 years: purpose. For the first time since Sarah died, I have a reason to keep fighting, a reason to push through the pain and hold on a little longer. The cancer's still eating at me, still sending waves of agony through my body, but somehow it doesn't seem as important now. Emma needs me, and maybe that's enough. Maybe that's what I've been waiting for all this time without knowing it. I settle into my chair by the fire and pick up the letter I'd been writing, the one I thought would be my last words. Looking at it now, it seems like it was written by a different man, someone who'd given up hope and was ready to surrender to the darkness. But that was before a little girl knocked on my door and whispered, "Please save me." Now I've got work to do. I don't sleep that night, partly because of the pain that's gnawing at my insides like a hungry wolf, but mostly because I'm keeping watch. Every sound from outside makes me reach for the rifle I keep by the door. Every creak of the house has me checking to make sure Emma's still safe in the bedroom. The storm finally blows itself out around dawn, leaving the world washed clean and sparkling in the early morning light. Emma sleeps until nearly noon, and when she finally emerges from the bedroom, she looks like a different child, rested, clean, and wearing one of Sarah's old dresses that I managed to take in enough to fit her small frame. "Good morning, Mr. McKenzie," she says shyly, and I'm struck again by her politeness. The careful way she speaks like she's afraid of saying the wrong thing. "Morning, Emma. How'd you sleep?" "Better than I have in months," she admits, then looks around the cabin with curious eyes. "This is a nice house. It feels safe." It is safe. My wife Sarah and I built it to be a home, a place where people could find peace. I gesture toward the kitchen. "You hungry? I was just about to make some breakfast." She nods eagerly, and I watch as she moves around the kitchen with surprising competence, helping me cook eggs and bacon like she's been doing it all her life. We eat in comfortable silence, and I find myself studying her face in the morning light, seeing past the fear and exhaustion to the bright, intelligent child underneath. "Emma," I say finally, "we need to talk about what happens next." Her fork stops halfway to her mouth, and I see that familiar flicker of fear in her eyes. "You're going to send me back, aren't you, no child? I told you last night, you're never going back to that man. But we need to figure out where you do go, and we need to do it legal-like so nobody can force you back to him." I've been thinking about this all night, working through the possibilities in my mind. The county would normally send her back to her uncle unless we could prove he was unfit, and a 9-year-old girl's word against a grown man's might not be enough. But I've got an idea, a crazy plan that just might work if I can pull it off. There's a lawyer in town, a good man named William Hayes. I'm going to ride in and talk to him about your situation, see what our options are. I lean forward, meeting her eyes. "But Emma, I need you to be completely honest with me. Can you tell me exactly what your uncle did? I know it's hard, but we might need proof." She's quiet for a long moment, staring down at her plate, and when she finally speaks, her voice is barely above a whisper. "He started coming into my room at night. At first he just touched me, said it was normal, that all uncles did it with their nieces. But last night he said I was old enough for more, that he was going to teach me to be a woman whether I wanted to or not. The rage that fills me is so strong, I have to grip the edge of the table to keep from shaking. But I keep my voice calm, gentle. Did he hurt you, Emma? Did he do more than touch?" She shakes her head quickly. "No, I kicked him and ran before he could. But he said when he found me, he was going to make me sorry I ran." "He's not going to find you," I say firmly. "I give you my word on that." After breakfast, I saddle up my horse Thunder, one of the 3 horses I've kept since selling off the cattle. Emma wants to come with me, but I convince her to stay at the cabin with Blue. The ride to town is agony. Every step Thunder takes sends lightning bolts through my gut, and by the time I reach Willow Creek, I'm doubled over in the saddle and seeing spots, but I push through it, tying Thunder to the hitching post outside William Hayes' office and forcing myself to walk upright despite the pain. Hayes is a good man. Been practicing law on Willow Creek for 20 years, and he listens to Emma's story with the kind of quiet outrage that tells me he's going to help. It's going to be difficult, he admits when I finish explaining the situation. The county tends to favor keeping children with blood relatives, even when those relatives are ... questionable. But if the girl is willing to testify, and if we can find other evidence of abuse, we might have a case. What kind of evidence? Medical examination. For one thing, Dr. Henderson could document any signs of physical abuse. And if there are neighbors who've seen or heard anything suspicious, their testimony could help. I think about this, remembering something Emma mentioned. She said he's done this before, that it was normal. Maybe there are other children he's hurt. Hayes nods grimly. I'll make some inquiries. In the meantime, the girl can't stay with you indefinitely, not without proper legal guardianship. The county could charge you with kidnapping if they find out you're harboring her. Then we need to make it legal. What would it take for me to become her guardian? Hayes looks at me carefully, taking in my pale complexion and the way I'm gripping the chair to stay upright. Tom, I have to ask, are you well enough to take on that kind of responsibility? Raising a child is a big commitment, especially for a man your age. I want to tell him about the cancer, about the fact that I probably have days rather than weeks left. But if I do that, he'll never approve the guardianship, and Emma will end up back in the system, possibly back with her uncle. I'm fine. I lie. And even if something happens to me, I can make provisions for her care. The Andersons have been wanting to adopt. Maybe they'd be willing to take her if I can't. Hayes agrees to start the paperwork, and I ride back to the cabin with my head spinning from pain and exhaustion. Emma's waiting for me on the porch, and the relief on her face when she sees me is worth every agonizing mile of the ride. Did the lawyer say he could help? She asks anxiously. He's going to try, but Emma, there's something I need to tell you. I settle into the chair beside her, Blue sprawling at our feet. If we're going to make this work, if we're going to keep you safe, you might have to tell your story to some other people, the doctor, maybe a judge. Are you brave enough to do that? She's quiet for a moment, then nods with a determination that makes my heart swell with pride. If it means I don't have to go back to Uncle Jeremiah, I'll tell anybody who will listen. Over the next few days, we fall into a routine that feels surprisingly natural. Emma helps with the cooking and cleaning, reads books from Sarah's collection, and spends hours in the barn with the horses. She has a natural way with animals, gentle and patient, and watching her brush Thunder's coat or feed carrots to the mares, I can almost forget the terrible circumstances that brought her here. But the pain is getting worse, coming in waves that leave me gasping and doubled over. I try to hide it from Emma, but she's a perceptive child, and I catch her watching me with worried eyes. On the fourth day, Dr. Henderson arrives with William Hayes, and I know the time has come for Emma to tell her story officially. She's nervous, but brave, answering their questions with a quiet dignity that breaks my heart. The doctor's examination confirms what we already know: she's been abused, though not as severely as it could have been. We've also been investigating her uncle, Hayes tells me privately while the doctor finishes his examination. Turns out there have been complaints before, other children who've made accusations. Nothing that stuck, but enough to establish a pattern so we can keep her safe. I think so. I've filed for emergency guardianship on your behalf, and given the evidence, I'm confident it will be approved. But Tom, ... he looks at me with concern. Are you sure you're up for this? You don't look well. The pain chooses that moment to hit me like a sledgehammer, and I have to grab the porch railing to keep from falling. Hayes steadies me, his face full of worry. I'm fine, I gasp. But we both know it's a lie. That night, after Hayes and the doctor have gone, Emma and I sit by the fire, and she asks the question I've been dreading. Mr. McKenzie, are you sick? Really sick? I look into those dark eyes, so full of trust and concern, and I know I can't lie to her anymore. Yes, child, I am. Are you going to die? The simple, direct question hits me harder than any physical pain. I don't know, Emma, maybe. But I want you to know that whatever happens, I'm going to make sure you're taken care of. The Andersons are good people, and they've already said they'd love to have you, if something happens to me. She's quiet for a long time, staring into the fire, and when she finally speaks, her voice is small and scared. I don't want you to die. You're the first person who's been nice to me since Mama died. I pull her close, this brave little girl who's already lost so much, and I make her a promise. Emma, I'm going to fight as hard as I can to stay with you. And even if I can't, even if the good Lord calls me home, I want you to remember our loved. You are precious, and you are going to have a wonderful life, full of people who care about you. 2 weeks later, the guardianship comes through, and Emma Rose is officially my ward. We celebrate with a special dinner and a trip to town to buy her some proper clothes and shoes. She picks out a blue dress that matches her eyes and a pair of sturdy boots, and watching her face light up at having something that's truly hers makes every moment of pain worth it. The cancer is winning. I can feel it spreading, eating away at me from the inside. But somehow, I'm still here, still fighting, still taking care of this precious child who knocked on my door and changed everything. Dr. Henderson is amazed. I don't understand it, Tom. By all rights, you should have been gone weeks ago. What's keeping you going? I look out the window at Emma, who's in the corral teaching one of the horses to take treats from her hand, and I smile. Purpose, Doc. I've got something to live for again. 6 months later, I'm still here, still fighting. The pain is constant now, but manageable with the right medication. Emma has blossomed like a flower and spring. She's gained weight. Her nightmares have stopped, and she laughs more every day. She's enrolled in school in town, where she's quickly become one of the top students. And she's made friends with the Anderson children. Mary and John Anderson visit regularly, and it's clear they adore Emma. When the time comes, and we all know it will come, she have a loving family waiting for her. But for now, we're a family of our own. Emma, and Blue and me, living in this cabin that Sarah and I built with love. Emma has taken over Sarah's garden, coaxing vegetables and flowers from the soil with the same gentle patience she shows the horses. In the evenings, she reads to me from the books Sarah loved, her clear voice filling the cabin with stories of adventure and hope. Sometimes, when the light is just right and Emma is sitting in Sarah's chair by the fire, I can almost see my wife, smiling, approving of the choice I made to save this child instead of giving up and dying alone. I never did finish that last letter, the one I was writing the night Emma knocked on my door. Don't reckon I need to anymore. Instead, I'm writing a new letter, one to Emma, to be given to her when she's older, explaining how she saved me just as much as I saved her. Because that's the truth of it. I thought I was rescuing a frightened little girl from a monster, but she was the one doing the rescuing. She gave me a reason to fight, a reason to hope, a reason to believe that even an old dying cowboy can make a difference in this world. The cancer will win eventually, we all know that, but it hasn't won yet. And every day I get to spend with Emma is a gift I never expected to receive. She calls me Grandpa Tom now, and I've never heard a sweeter sound. I was writing my last words when she knocked on my door, whispering, "Please save me." But it turns out she was the one with the power to save. She saved me from dying alone and forgotten, gave me the chance to matter to someone again, to leave this world knowing I made a difference in at least one precious life. And that, I reckon, is enough. More than enough. The end. Legal disclaimer. This story is entirely fictional and has been created for entertainment purposes. Any resemblance to real persons, places, or events is purely coincidental.